Hey guys, Roshan here from Saturday Selects, and I would like to welcome you to Sync. Sync is a new podcast series under Saturday Selects that looks to have a deeper conversation with key people in the creative industry, particularly music, both locally and around the world. The mission of this podcast is to dig into the minds of those behind the scenes and on the front lines of our industry and understand why they do what they do and what makes them tick. Having been involved in the Malaysian music scene for myself for the past 4 years, these people have been major inspirations to a lot of my fellow peers and myself included. But before we begin, I'd like to firstly thank the amazing people at 10 Points Up for jumping on board and collaborating with us and helping us bring the series to life. Collaboration is key, and we're going to be speaking more about how important it is in every episode. On this week's episode of Sync, we have a guest that has been a guiding figure and mentor to me for the last 5 years. He's a rapper, a producer, and a filmmaker who's done various projects in Kuala Lumpur and around the world. He's traveled the world, worked with many different artists and creatives, and is currently building a platform to bridge the gap between Tamil hip-hop and the mainstream hip-hop scene in KL. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our guest this week, Tactmatic. Hey Tac, how's it going, man?
It's good, man. Not bad at all. Chilling. How are you?
Not too bad. Boleh lah. Surviving. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I think we're gonna have a really nice conversation. We've not caught up in a while, so I think this is an awesome opportunity for us to catch up and just talk and explore a little bit about the history of Tactmatic and going forward and what's going on. But before we kick things off, I would like to start with the memory that I have of the first time watching you perform live. And I think that was Raising the Bar Festival 2013 at KL Pack.
Yeah.
I saw you on stage with Ego. I saw you on stage with Kieran Thomas, and I was attending the show as a fan. I know I've heard about you guys. I used to watch your Fly FM Stripped at the time.
Yeah.
You always had this vibe when you were rapping on stage. You commanded the stage. You're one of my favorite people to photograph as well. I saw a bit of Wiz, a little bit of Mac Miller every time you performed, but you always had that same flavor. And I think that's what accentuates the brand Tactmatic. Who were your early influences when you got into hip-hop, and how did that develop over time?
Well, if you want to go back to the very beginning, I'm sure you're aware that I started off as a battle rapper, right? And this was a key style battle MC era.
Okay.
And this will prove that how ancient I am, because this was on MIRC. Do you even know what MIRC
No.
is? Right. So MIRC, if I'm not mistaken, is the Microsoft Internet Relay Chat. I don't really know, man, but it's MIRC. It's it was the birth of hashtags, because it was different channels were made of different hashtags, and it was on this server called Dullnet.
Dullnet.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there were different channels. There was a hip hop channel. There was different schools had different channels and whatnot. And this was around the same time as ICQ and MSN and all that. So way back, man. I think this was 2003, 2004.
Wow.
Oh, even before that, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was still in school, and so my sparring partner, or my step into hip hop, was with Aman.
Okay.
Back then known as Kraft. I mean, he went by a lot of names back then, but Aman, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So we were from the same hometown, and he told me about this forum called the basement.com. The basement.com was the reason, the birth of the underground scene. On and on. I think Joe met Malik also on MIRC.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there were so many other key style battle MCs all on this forum called the Basement, and so that's why we started battling. And it was just typing out your lyrics, and then you have to respond, and you had rounds, and so that was the birth of it. So back then, to answer your question, it was rappers like Cannabis, Afura, and a bunch. I can't even remember. My favorite battle MC back then was this dude called Parable, and that was during the birth of Grind Time, which is the battle league back then. So I was heavily influenced by battle rap then, not even so much actual rappers or hip hop music. And then of course there was Eminem.
Okay, yeah.
And there was that. And then of course I discovered the local scene with Too Fat and the What the Dilly album and Poetic Emo, and that's when I was like, wow, that was the birth of the hip hop fever. So first it started off as just battle rap, right?
Okay.
And then it was hip hop as a culture, and that's when I started, everything from breakdancing to graffiti to, I did the whole 4 elements, the whole process. And then it was just evolution after evolution of having different influences and experimenting different things, learning to record yourself, learning to produce.
Okay.
Started producing on Fruity Loops 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now it's like FL 10, 12
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's FL Studio now.
Studio, yeah.
It was Fruity Loops when I downloaded it. Yeah, man. So that was the start. That's how it started for me. Yeah.
I think the art of rhyming is extremely complex. And I can't imagine what key style battle rap must have been like, typing out your raps on your computer.
Yeah.
But starting out, how did you develop your signature style of rap, but particularly your freestyles?
See, back then, with the birth of the internet, and you really just mirror styles that you were into, right? So I think it was just that. It was just like you create your own, like you try to make it relevant to you, but you still borrow these different styles and like rhyme schemes from what you hear and what you watch, and then you try to make it your own. That's how I remember doing it.
Okay.
And it's really just that.
All right.
Yeah.
You got your start. This started happening in 2003, 2004. You started the whole key style rapping on.
Slightly before, I think.
Slightly before.
Around then. Yeah.
But I think I first heard your name when you competed in the Asian Freestyle Championships. Was that it in 2009, 2010?
I think the birth of battle rap in KL.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were battles before,
Yeah.
but like as a league, it was TYGS.
Oh, I think you got skills.
Think you got skills. Much props to Vandal, the movement, Cloth and Clef.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a whole season by itself. And
those weekly shows happening.
Every week, it was just battles, and it was raw, it was live, it was a great time, and we won. I won a couple battles. Aman won a couple battles.
This was around like late 2000s.
I think 2000. Oh wait, I'm trying to remember the timeline. It's all vague now. I think maybe 09. 10. Yeah, this was TYGS time.
Okay, so being in that scene at the late 2000s and early 2010s, I think a lot of venues and promoters that started liking the culture and enjoying the culture, and the culture started growing, they started hosting a lot more parties and battles in KL because hip-hop was still somewhat an underground sound at the time.
Yeah.
How did fans of the music and artists like yourself find out about parties at Lust and Cloth and Clef, Roots, and how did those places become the meeting point for hip-hop heads like yourself?
I wouldn't say the clubs was a meeting point.
Okay.
I think it was more, of course, the events at Cloth and Clef, and then it became Raising the Bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the meeting point. So that's the thing. It evolved from that forum online into an actual live space.
Okay.
And that happened over the years. And in terms of clubs, I think it was more predominantly around the DJs. I think the DJs were doing their rounds.
Okay.
And that's where people, I think it wasn't so much of the rappers going to like meet, but it was just like, party culture, right?
Okay.
And hip hop music was what everybody bumped to, right, back then. So yeah, a bit of both. So it's definitely the club events was attracted a slightly different crowd.
Yeah.
And then it were the hip hop events that took place on a regular, which was Think You Got Skills and Raising the Bar.
Okay.
Definitely were the meeting points.
Okay.
And that's where the fan base grew, because that's where they knew they could find you, right? And if you released an album or released anything, that would be the place where you
do an album release party.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a video on Ego TV for Jin. Not Jin. I think it was Shen's album launch at Cloth and Clef.
Correct. Yeah.
And I spoke to Jin about it, and he was like, "How did you even see the video?" Because that's like, but Ego TV. It's somewhere on Facebook. You just gotta find it.
Correct.
But platforms like Raising the Bar and Think You Got Skills were pivotal platforms in the development of our local hip-hop scene. if you recall one show that was going on at the time called Word, which was a battle show where they put rappers head to head with one another. Do you have a favorite battle from that show?
Not really, man. It's not
No?
one of my proudest moments, to be honest. I think it was I mean, much props to ATV for wanting to do that.
Yeah.
But I just think we could have... See, the thing about battle rap culture, right? Like, even for me, like, if I could share, like...
Yeah, go for it.
So, props to Zain Azrai for making Evil Poet Society a battle league.
Yeah.
And, like, we've traveled to a couple places. We've been
Okay.
to London, we've been to Manila, Australia for battles.
Wow.
And one thing I realized when I was in that room, especially in Brixton, London, for this battle, right, for Don't Flop battles,
Okay.
and one of the biggest battle leagues. And when you're in a room with 150 people and all 150 people can rap, you're in a room full of battle rappers, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very humbling experience because they started a cipher and literally everyone in that room were just dropping bars.
Wow.
It was a very humbling experience, and that's when it hit me that to really thrive in a battle rap environment, you need this hunger, right? This hunger to win, because you naturally come from a background where you probably don't have much. I just get that sense that everybody in this room is just hungry. If there's money on the line, everybody's there for that money, right?
Yeah.
It's that hunger, and that makes you want to put that dedication to research on this person. Because at that point, it wasn't so much a freestyle battle league. It was pre-written. You had to
Okay.
prepare, so you had to research 3 rounds worth of content to like this person, right? That's a lot of work.
Okay.
And you need that hunger to really to win and thrive in that environment. And I realized I didn't have that, because to me, battle raps and freestyles was just something second nature, that it was fun, that I could do this, you couldn't do it, so I'll fuck you up straight up there,
Okay.
right? And that was like where I came from. So when I realized I didn't have that hunger, I realized there's only so far I could go. So bringing it back to Word, I think that didn't really portray battle rap to its fullest, because all of us lacked that hunger. I think we were all there because it was more of a show
Yeah.
rather than it was a performance rather than like a battle.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that show really encapsulated the essence of what battle rap was, you know? So that's a shame.
Okay.
But I guess the funnest battle, to answer your question, would have been that 2-on-2 thing I had against Jin and Sela.
Oh,
It was me
yeah,
and
yeah,
Edmund. It's
yeah.
like some zombie battle or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was fun, but yeah, as a whole, that do you know that final battle with me, Aman?
Yeah.
I don't have the guts to even watch it. I haven't watched it.
I actually watched
It's
it.
painful. I bet it's painful to watch. It was just
But I think it had some sort of like significant impact on everyone else for seeing hip hop on TV, because the only other show at the time I think was Hip Hop in Asia. Yeah. Like
guess,
we didn't really have representation of hip hop music on local Malaysian TV, local Malaysian artists. So I think that was like a great platform, although like you mentioned, it wasn't to its fullest battle potential. But you met a lot of artists, you had a lot of friends as well who were on Word, to name a few, Kraft, Sela, Jin, and all these people. How impactful was the success of Run This, which was a track that you collaborated with these people as well, to the guys that were involved in it, as well as the hip hop scene at the time? Because you guys got to perform on a massive stage, at an awards.
Yeah, that was
ceremony.
definitely the peak of that whole project, having to perform that at Shout Awards, I think.
Shout Awards,
Yes.
that's what it's called,
Yeah, that was definitely the best thing to come out of that, because great experience, right? But as a whole, I think Run This, I mean, much props to Ego for putting that together.
Yeah.
But I think it really just goes to show the impact and power of a well put together collaboration, you know? And it was the weight of all 7 rappers together.
Yeah.
And at that time, that visual, and it was just a share-worthy product, right?
Yeah.
So it had that, I guess, viral aspect to it.
Yeah.
And it was just a well put together collaboration, and like any collaboration, there's a lot of value in it.
Yeah.
And having 7 rappers come together and do that is definitely, I don't see how it could fail, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. To have the likes of Sona One on that lineup, and Sela, Roshan Jamrock as well, like you know, a little bit of everybody from all the scenes. You had Jin as well. Was it a difficult process to get everybody involved? Because I'm pretty sure you were helping Ego at the time.
Not really.
Not really?
I think I wasn't even so into doing it. I was just like, sure, why not? Because Edmund's a friend.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I was like, sure, why not? I didn't even expect it to turn out the way it did. And
Okay.
I mean, of course, I was so impressed when it came out. But no, I think that would be a better question to ask.
Ego?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you mentioned earlier that you, after learning how to battle rap and getting on the platforms, you got into production and Fruity Loops. And I think you're one of the very few rappers in KL that know every aspect of their business, from rapping, from production to distribution to the business side of your music as well, to releasing your music independently. How important is it for an artist to be multifaceted and know every aspect of their business?
I think it's very necessary. I think it's almost the norm. I mean, I'm sure there's still labels doing a thing, but as far as rapping goes, or I guess being an independent musician, I think it's necessary, and it's only natural for you to know. At least you don't have to. I mean, if you have a team, well done. If you can afford a team, that's the way to go. Because doing everything by yourself can get a little taxing, and there's only so far you can go on your own. It's not impossible, but you can. But having a team to do these things for you definitely will help. But I think it is the new norm. I think being independent is just the natural way to create in this given climate and economy.
Okay.
And when it comes to a certain point where you are making enough money that it's okay to share, then sure, go get a label, get a distribution deal. I mean, it'll come naturally. But when you're starting off, I think it's only natural to want to do everything on your own, or at least understand how to do it on your own.
Was that the case for yourself, to like naturally deciding, you know what, I need to know every aspect of my business when you started out?
For me, it wasn't even like I want to know or I need to know. It was just I had to know.
Okay.
It was just the circumstances were such where I had to do it myself, because there was no backing of any sort, and it was just purely independent, right? So I had no choice but to do it myself. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're gonna talk a little bit about some beat tapes, but before we get into that, this is a personal question from myself. How did you come up with the name High Society? Because I remember having your merch, and I bought it at the Raising the Bar show in 2013, and I was like super proud of having that merch, But
High
like
Society.
the idea of High Society, how did that?
It's
how did the
simple.
name-
It's a simple thing. So I have a mild obsession with conspiracy theories. And I think everyone did.
Yeah.
There's that rabbit hole of getting into the Illuminati when you were like 17, 18.
Yeah.
So a mixture of that, that high society, Illuminati, Freemason. I mean, I've read tons of books. I was in that hole, doing as much research as possible. And coupled with being influenced by smoking weed at that age at the same time. And I realized, wow, high society is both, that.
Yeah, like it's a bit of both.
Yeah, and then if you realize even the logo is
the eye.
The eye, but it's like a super baked eye. So it was like,
right. Actually, yeah.
It's a bloodshot eye. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bloodshot eye in a triangle. So it's high societies on both ends of the spectrum.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of beat tapes, and I think they've had a significant impact on your career and yourself personally as well. And maybe you can give us a quick review or brief on what you thought when you first heard these beat tapes. And the first one is OJ and Kush.
Wiz? Oh shit, that was to me my gates to cloud rap.
Okay.
So prior to OJ and Kush, prior to discovering Wiz, I was still all about that, bars and like coming in on the one, like, not stretching your syllables, just straight up rap, right? And then when I discovered Wiz, I realized how he made that laid back cloud rap kind of vibe a little more appealing.
Okay.
And also what he spoke about and the choice of beats, it really appealed to me.
Okay.
That got me into this whole tangent of, it really influenced the way I produce beats and even rap. And it got me into a more, vibey kind of mood, and even how I wrote and how I stretched my syllables on a track.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of helped develop
yeah,
a little bit into your rap style from your battle rap.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. Because transitioning from that battle rap straight up bars into making music. So there's this curse that battle rappers are known for, that battle rappers cannot make good music.
Okay.
You know, it's been around, and I probably was limited by that idea that, you know, why am I making music? I was probably that guy. I was probably not even wanting to make music. I was just wanting to battle rap. And then when I discovered all these appealing tracks that resonated with me and my lifestyle, I was like, oh, sure, let's try doing this. And that's how it happened, yeah.
All right. What about J Dilla's Donuts?
Donuts, J Dilla, I mean, that made me fall in love with producing. That made me want to make beats even more. Because back then I was just making beats to rap on as like a battle, right? Like I used to make a beat just so that I could lay my vocals as a battle for someone, as a diss track. That's how I started making beats. And then when I discovered Dilla, I was like, wow, making beats is also, you know, it's art.
Yeah, it's an art form.
Yeah, it's an art form. So definitely props to Dilla for making me realize what a beautiful art form beat making is. Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, Carter, the Carter beat tape series by Lil Wayne.
You mean the mixtapes?
The mixtapes, yeah.
Okay, so Wheezy was a very pivotal moment in my rapping taste.
Okay.
Or like, it's just my palette for rap music kind of expanded when I discovered Lil Wayne, and that it was that transition from being just bar for bar, very boom bap kind of vibes to the whole slightly more 808-ish electronic side of rap.
Okay.
That was the beginning for me, you know. This is before trap and all that, right?
Yeah.
This is
like late 2000s.
Yeah. And Lil Wayne was one of those rappers who I still think has like some of the best punchlines.
Okay.
And so that was it. So that was the bridge for me when, you know, making like what you would deem, I guess, mumble rap now. Back then it was like you had this block against this a little bit more electronic sounding hip hop sound.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, this is not really boom bap. But then when you hear Lil Wayne drop a punchline that gets you thinking, you're like, whoa, what is this? And you hear more. Yeah. And then you start, you know, reading his lyrics, and then you realize, wow, this guy's really dope. And then you start listening to him for his lyrics, and then you realize subconsciously you are getting a little more tuned to that sound of hip hop, you know.
Okay.
And then that kind of opened up a lot of more to the sound. Yeah, it was a very interesting progression. With Lil Wayne, because his lyrics got you listening to that kind of music, and then you started liking that kind of music, and then you just started discovering a whole
finding other new artists
rather than just being stuck on that whole boom bap, you know, kind of vibe.
Okay. Well, the beat tapes I mentioned are amongst some of the many that have influenced rappers around the world, and definitely rappers locally like yourself. And I feel like a lot of Malaysian artists try and emulate this whole Western style of rap that comes a lot from the US and Europe, but at the end of the day, they forego developing a Malaysian identity to their rap music. Why do you think that this is happening, and what can Malaysian rappers do more to have a Malaysian flavor in their music?
Okay, so that's a pretty dense question.
We can take it layer by layer.
I think for starts, I just want to highlight that we're at one of the best times for Malaysian hip-hop for a lot of reasons, and mainly because how Malay rap is huge now. Right? And I think in sense of just that, it is a huge achievement. We've come a long way for Malay rap to be where it is today. And so much so I'm seeing even like things online where people are saying like, oh, if you don't rap in Malay and if you're rapping in English, I might as well listen to. And that is so true. And that is so true because I think as much, I mean, the two sides to the story, but I think there's truth in that. And it's okay for somebody to say that, because if you really want to embody your culture, then that's the way. I mean, if you speak Malay on a daily, then you should rap in Malay. And if you speak Tamil on a daily, then you should rap in Tamil. But I'm not saying you shouldn't rap in English. You can, but if you want to be real, if you want to portray yourself on a track, then you have to rap in your native language, right? But that aside, I think it's a dense question because it goes back to being what it means to be Malaysian to begin with, right? And to me, at least, being Malaysian is a lot of things, because we're a diverse nation with a lot of cultures and some may say borrowed cultures, maybe a little sensitive, but I think there is truth in it. And I think for the longest time, we kind of associated progress with emulation.
Okay.
And I think there is where the problem started. And it's a gift and a curse, because it was progress. You did improve, you did go out of your box, but at the same time, over the time, it would hold you back, right? And I think for the longest time, it held us back, because when you emulate, and I remember there was a time when if you sounded like another rapper, if you sounded like Drake, that means you're dope, you're good. Or this dude sounds just like this, oh, he's good. But I don't think that is the way to go. I think it holds you back in the bigger picture, right? So when you look back at Malaysian culture, where everything is, you can't really claim your own. Like if you want to talk about food, like maybe nasi lemak is like the only thing we can truly own. If you want to talk like, we have the best Indian food, you can't really say that, because there's Indian food from India, and then Chinese food from China, and there's very few things that we can really claim to be Malaysian. And that is, again, both a gift and a curse. And I think that has kind of like we projected that into the music we made as well. Like a lot of the things we made were just like very highly influenced from whoever you were listening to or whatever you. And me myself, right? I was so influenced by Wiz. I started sounding like Wiz, and then I know a bunch of rappers who all sounded like Drake at one point. And I think it was only natural, but it's about being aware of it.
Yeah.
And then once you progress by emulation, is to then look within. I think it's very important to start looking within and finding what you truly stand for and who you truly are, and finding that sound and claiming it and owning it.
Okay.
I think ownership is a very is something that was lacking in the Malaysian scene, because you couldn't really own something that isn't yours,
Okay.
So now with the birth of, I mean, not to say the birth, but with Malay rap being where it is right now, I think you'll find more genuine styles.
Okay.
And I can't wait for that, for people to come up with their own styles. I mean, they already are.
Yeah.
But to see that evolve into even more something core within that has not been out there already,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this gives an opportunity as well for Chinese rap music, Tamil rap music. You have amazing artists like Dato Mo, who's doing amazing Chinese rap. He's made it into the Levi's, searching, finding the artist thing. And then you have Balan doing Tamil rap, Dan Shiv doing Tamil rap. And you've had your own personal experience and journey being involved in Tamil rap music in Malaysia as well. And your recent release has been with Balan Kashmir, Lighter. This song caught on like wildfire, no pun intended at all, but there is a missing link between the artists who are putting out Tamil rap music and the large hip-hop audience that does exist in Malaysia. How can we, as artists and music consumers, bridge that gap? And the platform that you've recently been part of, All Day, does that help or factor in any way towards bridging this gap?
Again, it's a pretty dense question, and you have to go back to like how it started. Yeah. Like I can speak for Tamil rap.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you're aware, Valavan.
Yeah, of course.
That was like the very first Tamil rap song, as far as I know, is Better Rap, which is the A.R. Rahman thing, right? And as far as hip hop and Tamil, and having the first Tamil hip hop album was Valavan. Yogi B and Nachitra.
Yeah.
And that album was so impactful that it shaped the culture of Tamil rap in India itself, right?
Okay.
And what we need to understand is the impact of that still lasts till today. Yeah. Again, there's a lot of gifts and curses here because one rapper there, Dr. Burn.
Yep.
Right? And he, I think, has influenced what Tamil rap should be to such an extreme. So, in Tamil, there's the spoken Tamil.
Yeah.
I guess in a lot of languages, there's the spoken language, and then there's the clean newscast reading Tamil, right? So, Dr. Burn and Yogi Nachitra, they went on that route, which was the very clean, proper Tamil, right?
Okay.
Which is a lot more poetic, a lot more. I think it's harder to rap too.
Okay.
And that was great because it appealed to even like the slightly elder listeners. Like you could play that for your mom too, right? And that kind of shaped everything in India as well.
Okay.
Like everyone started following that form of rapping in Tamil. And then that lasted for so long that it started getting stale.
Okay.
Right? And we needed something fresh. And that started becoming a limitation. Like even for me, I can give myself as an example. Like all this while I never rapped in Tamil because I couldn't speak that clean Tamil, that the official Tamil, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, I set this limitation on myself where I told myself that I'm never going to rap in Tamil because I can never speak like that. Which means I can never even rap like that. So I'm not going to even go there.
Wow.
And for that lasted for 10 years of my life. I was like, no, I'm never going to do this. Because Dr. Byrne and Nachitra set that bar of what Tamil rap. So in my head, I was like, that's what Tamil rap is. So even I fell victim to this idea of what Tamil rap should be like.
Okay.
And then over the years, very recent, and I started hanging out with rappers in India.
Okay.
And they started complaining about this issue. It's like this, they call it soul essay, right? It's something that Dr. Byrne comes up with. And props to Dr. Byrne. I think he's amazing. He's one of the best Tamil rappers.
Yeah.
But I think we have to acknowledge that kind of what he created was such an impactful thing that he also limited a lot of people because, like myself included, because I never wanted to rap in Tamil. And now, once we realized that, you know what, Tamil can actually be a lot more simple. Like, we can just rap in the spoken Tamil.
Yeah.
And not many people really did that. And now we can see a lot of rappers coming up. Like, even Chennai, like in North Madras.
Yeah.
Much props to Asal Kolar. Like, I think he's finally... Because I think India was plagued by Yogi Bin Nachitra. Everybody wanted to sound like them. That now they're finally realizing to look within and realize that once they start rapping in their own dialect.
Yeah.
Because India is so diverse within its own, right? Like, you travel 2,000 kilometers in any direction, it's a complete different culture, language.
Wow.
So they started looking within their own culture and having that on the tracks and started rapping with their own culture. And that is a lot more fresh. It's a way doper. And I think it's only starting, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there. And with Laita, since you asked Laita, I think that was again, for me at least, it was me rapping in Tamil because I took that block out of my system. I was like, Tamil doesn't have to be this clean Tamil. I can just rap in the little Tamil words that I know.
Okay.
And that turned out into Laita.
Nice.
And it happened because we really wanted to embody the diaspora of Malaysian Indians.
Okay. All right.
Because we have our own dialects, we have our own words, we mix Malay with our Tamil, and that's a culture of its own that's been around for years, but no one has really documented that culture.
Okay.
And that's what All Day was meant to be. Like when me and Edmund were talking about it, we were like, okay, All Day needs to represent the Malaysian Indian. And
bridge that gap.
I guess bridge that gap. But more than anything, it was to really document with our style of documentation, with our aesthetics, but really document. Because if you look deep, at the end of the day, who I am, who Edmund is, we're just Malaysian Indians. Like, what are you? Like, if you were to go represent somewhere outside, the realest form you are is a Malaysian Indian, and you can't run away from that.
Yeah.
And when you ask yourself, what is a Malaysian Indian? You can't run away from these words you speak or like how you speak it or like just what you do or how you dance. It's I think it's beautiful in its own way, and it's a shame that
there's a lack of documentation.
And representation
as well.
So it all stems from that. It stems from looking within.
Okay.
And I think for the longest time, all of us were looking out. This is what I have to sound like. This is what I have to sound like. I need to sound like this. I need to portray myself like this. And then once we stop doing that and start looking within and start documenting what you realize you are and putting that out, I think that's when you really can create your sound or be original
and find yourself as well, develop your own style. You speak a lot about India, and over the 4 or 5 years that we've known each other, I know that you travel a lot. You've had crazy experiences throughout Europe, Asia, America. But there is a certainty when I say this that India has a special place in your heart. What is it about the country that captured your attention and made you want to focus your yourself on India, especially last year or the past 2 years?
I mean, what can I say? India is dope. It's huge. It is. There's no one word to. I mean, their tourism tagline is incredible. India is because it really is. There's no way to really define what India is. It's just too rich in culture and so many different cultures and languages and styles, and I think it's limitless what India can come up with if they really get their shit together. And it's happening. I see it happening. I see sprouts of like Indian rappers and cultures doing their own thing. I mean, there's still a bunch of them who are still trying to do something that they're not.
Okay.
And then there are a bunch of them who are realizing like, oh, let's just be ourselves, and that's really dope. I'm excited to see where that goes.
Which cities have you been to that has shown incredible potential in India?
I mean, every city I've been to definitely has their own potential.
Okay.
I mean, of course, in the north, the whole gully rap thing is huge. And I mean, to me, gully rap is so huge, but it isn't even the dopest. That's the thing about India.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
there's so much doper like acts other than this gully rap thing that is yet to be discovered. And
I'm still underground.
Yeah, and it's in due time you will not be able to deny it anymore. And I think every culture has that process, right? You have the masses.
Yeah.
You go through the whole commercial thing, then that will die off. Then everybody's like, okay, now what? So when everybody's at that now what stage, and then you see all this young talent
sprouting up.
Yeah. And I think India is only just starting. As far as an underground scene goes, like even in Chennai, which is something I'm in a place I'm more familiar with.
Okay.
There isn't really an independent scene. It's far more worse than Malaysia too, I would say. Yeah, and because they are primarily on the Hollywood industry,
right? Yeah.
Which is the one that pays the bills, the one is where the money is.
Right?
Yeah. So it's just straight up for them. It's black and white, right? It's like, oh, if you want to do this for a living, you got to do it that way.
Right. Okay.
Because they have that option.
Okay.
For us, I think we are better because we didn't have that option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
So again, it's always that gift and a curse. So it's good that they had an option, but it also limits them from
in the long run.
Yeah.
Besides India, with your travels that you've gone through Europe, Australia, New Zealand, America, which are the other cities, like 3 other cities, that their music culture has really attracted you? That you've experienced in that city, like connecting with producers?
I don't know. I mean, like in terms of music and my travels, like I didn't really connect with producers, but just experiencing Cuba.
Wow, okay.
and seeing like hints of hip hop on the streets.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was like a very inspiring moment to see, because Cuba is so disconnected, right? There's like barely any internet. Nobody has like phones.
I would think it's a more jazz.
That's the thing. That's what I imagine. It was very Latin kind of vibes, right? But then when I saw like people rapping on the street, I was like, wow, that really inspired me. And also goes to show like how influential hip hop has been, right? Yeah,
exactly. Like in one of the most disconnected countries in the world, and hip hop is still there.
Yep.
What about Sydney? You met a friend that is now a common friend for the both of us. How was it like connecting with AY?
Oh, I mean, AY, he's doing his thing, and he's dope. Flo-Fi, right? That's
Flo-Fi, Anandu.
Yeah, Flo-Fi's been around for a minute.
Yeah,
I think they've been around even before I discovered the Future Beats and Selection.
The whole thing,
They've been doing it for a while. Meeting AY was very brief.
Yeah.
Again, Sydney has its heavy underground hip hop culture.
Yeah, crazy underground hip hop culture.
Huge. But then on the mainstream thing, it's very few of them make it to the mainstream.
Yeah.
And again, because the same thing in India, in Malaysia, right? I think it's very similar in the sense that because the mainstream thing wasn't such a huge thing that it could, make you set for life, that the underground scene could exist, Yeah. Because again, in Australia, despite having amazing talent there, they still imported music from
overseas.
States, overseas. It's still English music, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we can kind of compare ourselves to Australia. Malaysian and Australians have similar problems in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you speak English and then when you make English music, you have no choice but to compare with Hollywood and the billboards.
Okay.
Right?
Earlier this year, you were in India for a bit, and just to continue off speaking on India earlier, when you came back, you had to quarantine yourself in KL for 14 days at a hotel, and you were making music and getting food delivered to you, the whole works. How was that experience like for you, and how has the past 9 months been for you too, mentally and physically?
Wow. Good, to say the least.
Okay.
I think, also because of where I am right now with music, and my career in music is where I'm at a very comfortable space where I'm no longer dependent on music for money, right? So I don't make music as like a source of living, right? And I think that's the most, it's the freedom, the sense of freedom I get from that is something I don't want to lose. Like, I never want to get signed to a label or have a deadline, or I mean there are pros and cons to what I'm saying, but this is just a personal choice where the last 9 months where I'm just purely making or creating from a space that is so free that I just create when I feel like creating, and I don't have any box or sound or anyone I want to sound like. I'm just exploring whatever I want and creating whatever I want, rapping about whatever I want. And I felt that, and that's something that I don't want to lose. Like, this space that I'm creating from is the best space to create from.
Right.
And I think the past 9 months and this whole pandemic has taught me that this is it.
Okay.
I would spend the rest of my life just doing this, creating from this space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we expect a pandemic inspired project coming out from you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah? Is it more of beats or more of you rapping?
It's a bit of both. Yeah, a bit visuals as well. There's
Wow.
so much unreleased stuff I haven't put out. So that's the thing with me. Creating music, I can do it whenever I want. But putting it out is
it's
a whole
different story.
Yeah.
What hinders you from putting it out almost immediately after making this music?
It's a personal problem. It's something I need to work on, which is just this idea of letting it go.
Okay.
I suffer from things of not being good enough. They're never good enough. And it's something I'm working on. And hopefully I get over it, and then I get to share it with the world. Yeah. But I have been putting out 1 or 2 songs here and there, which is whatever. And even all day, if it wasn't for ego, you would have never heard that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this pandemic has put a lot of people out of jobs and into some seriously tough situations. A lot of our previous guests that we've spoken to as well, they went through a mental, state of mind throughout this pandemic. But in my opinion, creatives like yourself that wear multiple hats could move into other areas of creativity. You do videography, you do graphic design as well. And if these people were more multi-skilled, that they would be able to sustain themselves through the situation. How beneficial is it in the long run for individuals in any industry to diversify their skill sets?
To me, this is a very subjective question. It really depends on the individual.
Okay. But what about for yourself?
For myself, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I was able to monetize off doing different things.
Yeah.
And that freed up my space to create music specifically for myself, right?
Yeah.
And now it's a privilege. And I cannot just speak about this without acknowledging this privilege, because not everyone can have this privilege, right? And but if they do, and if they are capable of making music just for the sake of making music, then just take a step back and remember and remind yourself that you're doing this not for money, and that you're doing this for yourself, and create from that space. And I think that would be a very interesting process for that person to experience.
Okay.
But as the whole pandemic has impacted the whole scene and industry, it's just unfortunate. And, there's this whole conversation of how even government officials
unhelping
deem the arts as not essential.
Yeah.
Just that statement in itself is a reflection of the
Where
nature
we're
of
at.
things. Yeah, where we are. And it's not something you and I can like just fix this overnight.
Yeah.
It is a battle that the arts has been facing for the history of
Ages,
time.
I can't
Ages.
imagine.
Yeah. But if anything, with the internet now and the way things are, it should be easier for us.
Yeah.
Compared to, imagine if you're just a guitarist and a busker basking in the streets.
Yeah.
Now you can just, I don't know, go online and still make some money if you're not able to go out to the streets, right? So I think, again, this whole period, it should force evolution.
Okay.
Evolution is something natural, but I think because of our level of comfort pre-pandemic, that I think a lot of people did not want to evolve, that they got very comfortable and denied evolution.
Right.
And I think if anything, this pandemic would have put them in a position where they cannot deny it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that is some good in this whole thing. But it takes a lot of work, and it's self-work to really discover what you want. And also, I think it even more so now, collaborations are even more important. Like, it's so important to work together and create something. Like, there's so much talk about creating art in the crypto field of things, with NFTs and so many different options. I mean, it's all very new and very it's something you cannot really depend on, but it's at least a path that you can look towards to evolve to, and also finding value, like in different ways you can like add value. Because business, I mean, if you want to do things for money, again, it's either you solve problems or you add value, right? And if you're making music for money, it goes back to that. It's either you add value or you solve a problem with your music,
right?
And otherwise it's just gonna be, you can't just sit here and wait and hope things go back to normal, because that's again denying evolution,
All right. Well, you spoke a little bit about how the government deemed the arts and culture sector of our country as non-essential. The government today announced, specifically DBKL, saying that nightclubs and bars can reopen, but with new SOPs in place, they're allowed to become cafes and restaurants, but without live events and DJs.
I think
defeats the purpose.
I think it wanted to
of
turn
reopening
Zouk into a bowling alley.
But like you see, I'm not too sure about that, but I really like what Zouk Singapore did. They converted the entire space into a gym, a cycling space. Like, people can go to cycling, like making the space multi-purpose. But with the government asking nightclubs and bars to convert and become restaurants and cafes and still not allow DJs and live events, I feel that that's gonna kill our creative market. Don't you think?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think, first of all, it's just a political thing, and it's unfortunate that this industry has to fall victim to just political agendas, you know? And it's unfortunate, no doubt, but I think it's also happening on a global scale. Right? So I think, again, I mean, we can feel sorry for ourselves, or we could just find different ways to go about it. Like, for instance, you mentioned Zouk turning it into a gym, right? So that decision was clearly made on a business aspect. As a business, as a venue, they needed to generate income, and that seemed like the best way to generate income. And that decision was made not for music. It wasn't made for musicians. It was made for the business, right? So now, as a musician, you need to think, like, are you a business or are you a musician? So you need to first determine what you are first. So as a business, you have to make completely different decisions. But as a musician, you have to make even more different decisions. So I think that a lot of people are caught in between being a business and a musician, and then they suffer.
Right.
But if you are able to draw those boundaries and be able to distinctively tell whether you're a musician, or am I making this decision as a musician, or am I making this decision as a business, or am I denying myself of this evolution as a musician or as a business? And then if you can see that separation, I think your decision making process will be a little bit more clearer.
Actually, I completely agree with you. I never looked at it that way either. Like having that segmentation of treating yourself either as a business first or a musician first and making decisions based on that.
Correct. It's very important, especially during times like this.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of musicians are going to complain, say, oh, the government's not helping, not helping.
We're still hearing that 9 months in.
But I know friends who just got grants.
Oh, wow. Okay. Where were these grants from? Like Cendana and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's not necessarily not helping. It's just obviously Malaysia suffers from a lot of, bureaucratics and fucking lobbying and all that. But if there's a will, there's a way. And again, as a business, you can't sit here and complain the government is not helping. Yeah. As a business, if you really want to make that money, you can go out and get that money.
Yeah.
As a musician, it's different. Mm-hmm. So you need to really, like I said, you need to make that distinction.
Distinction. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're seeing a lot of these DJs and live performers coming back into clubs and bars overseas. Particularly Tokyo, China, Wuhan, in Europe as well. And there's been SOPs in place at these venues with health compliances being pretty strict at some of these places. Like they're putting like a transparent sheet in front of the DJs, standing tables like 3 meters apart. Having been in the entertainment industry for over 10 years, do you think that our nightlife industry can sustain this pandemic?
I think that's a different question. It's not a question of whether the nightlife can survive the pandemic. I think it's a question whether humanity can survive the pandemic. Can
humanity survive this pandemic?
I think for sure. I think we're already, talking about the vaccine. I mean, it's a different conversation. But we will get over this. But it's going to take time. And I think in any crisis, there's always opportunity. I'm sure you're aware of that, right? And even as a musician, as a venue or anything in this crisis, it's easier said than done. Yeah. But I think you can find opportunity to create something different or something, or it's just a way to experience nightlife in a different way. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I'm just saying that being hopeful in the sense that not to just play victim. Yeah. We are all victims already. But it's just, if you want to talk progress and moving forward, then the first step is to stop being the victim, right? Yeah. So it's not a matter of whether nightlife can survive with a screen in front of the DJ. It's whether humanity can survive with this virus. Yeah. And then once people, think about it. We're already going out. We're already doing this. Yeah, we're doing this. So the only thing that's stopping us from going out and having a party is the government, is the law. So the pandemic isn't the enemy anymore. It's the government. It's the government. Wow, it's the laws. Yeah.
All right. Well, this pandemic gave birth to a lot of new producers, new artists, people doing different things and exploring different businesses. And I think that included yourself as well, because you launched, you haven't really announced it yet, but your new moniker that goes by the name of Kudoshi. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so in this whole process of introspection during this pandemic, I realized how, we get so attached to an image or an idea, and if there's anything, if anyone were to ask me what I'm passionate about freedom. And I think being able to destroy to recreate is my epitome of freedom. And ideally, I just want to be able to destroy this Tactmatic name and this Instagram account, whatever, how many ever K followers I have, to just let it go, just close it, be able to close it all, destroy it, and then start something completely new, fresh, that nobody has heard of, and not even see what happens, but just be able to do that. Okay. Because if I do it once, I can do it again, and I can do it over and over again. Right. And it's more of an experiment. It's more of a learning curve for me, and I'm happy to share that with the world, with this brand Kudoshi, and of course I'm rapping about different things. The whole vibe is different. Okay. And it's more for me. To know whether I'm able to let go and destroy and recreate. So this is your process, could you say? Yeah. Okay. It's a growth. It's evolution. Evolution. And growth. Yeah. I think the key word today definitely has been evolution. Yeah, man. Yeah. And to be able to evolve is to be able to let go. So by being able to let go of, because what is Techmatic? I mean, of course you have fractions of memories of me performing here and there, and then all you have now is just maybe like YouTube searches or some random videos, or my Instagram account, right? That's it. So what if I remove these things?
There goes your digital footprint.
Yeah, my digital footprint is gone. And as much as that, some people will be like, "What? Oh my god! Like I just lost everything." But to me, it's like, "Wow,
I'm free."
I'm free. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
Okay. Well, before we end, what can we expect from Tactmatic and Kudoshi going into 2021 and beyond?
I think, I mean, as far as Kudoshi goes, it is just a reflection of self.
Okay.
Right? And I'm being a lot more vulnerable. I'm sharing things that matter to me. And it's not so much, I mean, the whole Techmatic thing for the longest time, it was just a battle rapper, and then it was like, oh, pussy, money, weed, it's my lifestyle, make money, fuck bitches. And that was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to rap about those things. And now it's getting a little harder, and I like that. You know, to be a little bit more woke or conscious with your raps is a little bit more, it takes a lot more effort to write, and I like that challenge. And also sonically, you know, I'm experimenting with so many different like frequencies and instruments and sounds, and just that whole sonic experience is very different than just making a rap beat and laying vocals on it, right?
Yeah.
So it even pushes me on like my engineering skills or production skills, and then comes the visual element of it, where I'm experimenting with different, you know, visuals, and it's more a cohesive experience rather than just making a beat and laying vocals in it, you know?
Okay.
So I think there's more depth to what I do now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm excited about that.
Nice. Can we expect some new music before the year ends, or are you
as far as All Day goes, there are a bunch of All Day tracks
coming out.
All right. See, that's the thing with me. Like, as far as Kudoshi is all, I'm ready to let go of Techmatic.
Yeah.
I think I'm part of me being able to do that is because there's this All Day thing, which is still like my playground to do like the fun, easy stuff.
Yeah.
And which kind of makes me a little lot easier to like let go of the Tactmatic thing, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tac, thank you so much for coming by and having this conversation with us.
Yeah, thanks.
Keep
for having
updated
me.
with Tac on his Instagram. Keep
while
updated with while it lasts. And then, you know, if you're following him right now, you will get an update once the new Instagram account starts. Don't forget to follow All Day as well.
Yep.
They're really bringing some awesome Tamil rap based content coming to you, representing Malaysian Indians. Tac, once again, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been good.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right. See you soon, guys.